Today's video is for all those expecting moms out there, as well as anybody who happens to be playing with pregnant individuals, and it's advice for how to keep gaming while you're pregnant. A lot of this advice is kind of my own personal things that I've found as I've been continuing to game through my pregnancy. As of filming this, I'm 21 weeks. So over halfway through. Woo! Have yet to get into the third trimester stuff though, so there might be maybe an updated video down the line. As well as I asked a number of people in the community to chime in with their own personal advice. So I'll be popping up the folks who helped contribute to this video. Thank you so much. I'll be popping up their little comments below as I go through all of these. And as I said, this is definitely geared towards individuals who are pregnant, but also I think it can be helpful for anybody who happens to find themselves at the table with somebody who is expecting, whether it's the partner of somebody who's expecting or just, there's somebody at your game table at your local gaming group. That may be some of these things you can offer. Don't necessarily automatically do it because everybody's pregnancy is going to be a little bit different. Especially for me, I found there have just been minor adjustments that I need to make gaming more comfortable. It's not like a huge adjustment thing for me, but these are just things that I've found have helped a little bit. So one of the first things that you might want to do, especially if you're in a group that is using safety tools, is just kind of have a quick moment and see if you need to update any of those safety, like lines and veils, X-card things for your group. Things change a little bit and you might find that, oh, I'm much more sensitive to this kind of subject, and suddenly it goes from being a veil to a line, or suddenly there's something that new that I think if this comes up in gaming is just going to set off my emotions a little bit more. So that's one thing that a number of people kind of chimed in as well. And I kind of had my own where am I right now mentally? Because you're suddenly in a kind of new stage of your life. In the first trimester, I was really finding that I was really low energy and kind of just blank emotions. I think because I was very tired, because, not only am I growing a person, but creating a whole organ to grow a person, that takes a lot of work. So while I hadn't told most of the people that I gamed with, I did kind of just acknowledge, I know I'm going to be low energy this game, and just say, hey, I haven't been sleeping well. I'm not feeling super great, which right now, I'm playing virtually, so that's fine. But in person might, instead of being oh, I'm not feeling well, I found I haven't been sleeping well, or I just feel a little off today, as a good way of just kind of giving a heads up that I may not be 100% there for gaming, or might not be as engaged with the roleplay, but I still want to be there because I found I definitely still wanted to game. It was a really good outlet for me. It's something I really enjoy. You might find that maybe gaming is just a little bit too much for you and you need to say hey, this week, sorry, I'm out for this week, not feeling well, I'll be in next week. And I think just, kind of finding ways to clue in the rest of the table or let your game master know, just so that they're aware it's not anything they're doing. And you don't necessarily have to tell them right away, I'm pregnant, but that's why I found I didn't sleep well, which was true. But as a good way of kind of being oh, that's the reason why I seem tired or low kind of energy today. As far as telling your group or not, that is completely going to be up to you, how close you are with your group, how comfortable you are telling people early on or waiting until, you are telling people publicly, or you are obviously showing, or not at all, because depending on how close you are with your group, it's your own personal thing and it's not necessarily going to have a big impact on the game. Another thing I noticed pretty early on is that I definitely needed more breaks, or like the breaks to happen when I was expecting them to happen. Not only because I needed to use the bathroom a little bit more often, but also as I've been going on in my pregnancy, I've found sitting, especially in the same position for a long period of time, gets uncomfortable very quickly. So a few suggestions for this is just, maybe asking for more frequent breaks. Instead, if you have like a 3-hour session and usually only take one break in the middle, maybe ask if you can kind of do an hour at each of the hour marks. Or if you don't necessarily need to take a full break and are in a position where, we're playing in person at a table, it is easy for me to stand up and stretch and still be super involved in the game, but stand up, stretch, maybe adjust a little bit. Sometimes that's a little bit harder when you're playing virtually. So definitely make sure that you're sitting in a comfortable chair. I've brought in like a pillow that I've occasionally sat on in game, because I found that kind of just changing up how I'm sitting really makes it a lot easier for me to sit for a longer period of time. I just can't really sit in the same exact position. If you're playing in person, ask for the comfy chair, bring a cushion with you. Also, see if there's ways that you can put your feet up. I kind of put my feet up when I'm sitting at my desk and can kind of support them against the wall that my desk is on. Maybe you have a stool that you can use if you're at somebody's house. And if you're at a gaming store, ask if they've got an extra empty cardboard box. That works too. I've got one under my desk at work, and it's working great to just be able to put my feet up when I do kind of feel that like, my ankles are getting a little swollen. Also with the breaks, I found definitely having water on hand. I need to be drinking a lot more, so I feel like I get dehydrated a lot faster, especially when I'm talking. And snacks. Snacks, yes. What I personally found for the first trimester was a lot of my morning sickness was kind of connected to I started to get hungry. So as long as I had little things I could kind of munch on, I was pretty good. And then, there were a few times where I did have to kind of like check out from the game for a moment, or, say like, hey, I need a second to just get up and go take care of things. One thing I've done occasionally, and it also was suggested by somebody in the community, is if you do need to take some more breaks and then the group is going to take, but you don't want to like step away from the table and then have to have somebody recap what happened while you were gone during somebody else's turn. If you are playing virtually, if you have like Bluetooth or wireless headset that can reach to the bathroom, then you can just kind of keep listening as you do your own thing. And if you're in person, you can call somebody else at the table, have them put you on speakerphone, mute yourself, and then that way you are aware of what's going on at the table while you're getting up to get some water or use the bathroom, whatever it is, and then come back, and there's not going to be that like recap time that you have to do. You can just jump right back in, kind of as if you were there the whole time. One thing that I've found helpful to kind of combat pregnancy brain is I keep notes. I have always kept notes on sessions, but I find it especially helpful because one thing I've noticed is going between, even though I game every week, I forget what we did last session. It just kind of goes out of my brain. So I usually review my notes from the previous session to remind myself, what is it we're doing? And you might also do something similar. You might find reviewing your character sheet a little bit helpful to remember what are my abilities. And then also just asking for help from the rest of the table, because you may find, like I've found, trying to do math on my own is a little bit more difficult. I think dyslexia, it's just made that worse. Luckily, we're playing on a virtual tabletop, so that's not an issue for me. So maybe you use like a D&D Beyond on your phone to roll things instead of physically rolling if you're playing in person, or just asking somebody for help, because sometimes pregnancy brain is real. Yes. Special thanks to all of our patrons, especially Sean. If you want to support our channel, you can head on over to patreon.com/rollforinitiative. Check out the perks of being a patron. All right, let's get back to the advice. Okay, so the big thing that I have run into is kind of emotions. You are going through a lot of changes. Your hormones are changing quite a lot. I actually haven't found that I've been as more crying more. Ryan might disagree, but especially in game. But I have found that kind of the other, maybe another emotion I've dealt with a little bit more, and that is just getting very frustrated and kind of rage. I would like to rage. Out of almost nowhere. And so, yeah, you might be dealing with different emotions or extreme emotions than you are used to. And, trying to, I try and be aware of that and also figure out what it is that kind of helps you. Sometimes it is just getting up and walking away. Like Ryan and I were recently watching the episode in Critical Role Campaign 2 where Laura gets up from the table and just yells, "I'm pregnant!"
Yeah, laugh it up.
Is it possible?
I'm pregnant!
And watching the lead up to that has been a whole different experience for me now that I'm pregnant, because I was like, oh no, I feel I've seen myself go through this couple of mildly frustrating things happen that kind of are outside of my control, and then somebody says something and somebody says something else, and it just kind of builds on each other, and you're finally just like, I need to walk away before I rip somebody's head off because I realize this might be slightly irrational. So yeah, you might just need to step away from the game, or just kind of check out for a moment. And if you can, just let the rest of the table know what's going on. Whether it's hey, I need a minute, or just yelling, I'm pregnant! Whatever it is, that might help just kind of let the table know. May not necessarily be anything that they're doing, but it's just hormones. And that also might bleed over into how you play your character. Maybe your character kind of falls a little bit more into an emotion that you hadn't explored with them. Maybe you find that the character you're playing just isn't a good fit for you right now. That's also fine. Maybe you transition that character out permanently or just kind of temporarily if you want to keep playing with that group and not have to stop playing at all. That's another option. That might be something to just have a conversation with your game master or table. I feel like Nexon has had some change that probably was impacted by me being pregnant, but also I'm just kind of leaning into it as some character choices that maybe she's making those choices based on what's going on in the game, and my own personal emotions and stuff like that are also affecting it as well. And the last thing is something to kind of just consider, and that is maternity leave from the game, whether that is something that you are planning on stepping away from the game for a little while, and this is the date that we're going to end. I think it might also be helpful to talk with the table and just say hey, if I'm not able to game, how are we going to handle me not being there so that the rest of the party can keep going? Because you might find that I'm dealing with really bad morning sickness today and I just can't make it to game. Or, your doctor places you on bed rest or something like that. The baby comes early because the baby will come when the baby will come. I think having kind of an idea of what your plan is going to be, and then also being flexible because things are going to change. I'll probably end up doing a video talking about gaming as a new parent once we get to that point, but any parents out there, if you've got any tips, feel free to leave those in the comments or tweet us some tips, because we'll be looking for those in the spring. And it's good as a parent for you to have something that is your own and maybe whether it's down the line you end up bringing your kids into gaming or not. But having that time where you get to be you and not necessarily just a mom or just a dad, I think that is very important. And it's also important as you're expecting, because gaming has definitely helped me feel like me, as a lot of things in my life have been changing kind of on a weekly, daily basis. So for me, it's been a really good mental thing to kind of have this regular thing that I'm like, cool, this is staying the same. This is still something I can go to and have fun and play this awesome character with this awesome group of people. Even if me personally am feeling a little like shit because the baby has decided to start kicking my kidney. I can then turn around and be like, cool, great, I'm going to kick that ogre. Bam. If you've got any additional tips, anything that you found super helpful, to put it down in the comments below. Kind of, I tried to act as this as a, like, bringing together all of the different things that I have found, as well as I've heard from other folks, to be a really good resource, so that, future parents can watch this and get an idea of how they can have at least one part of their life kind of continue on, at least up until the baby is here. If you know somebody who is expecting, maybe share this video with them. Maybe there's something in here that is useful for them. And until next time, this is Roll for Initiative. I'm Dawn, and I'll see you next time. Everything is just a little harder. That's another thing. Everything is just a little harder. Oh, pregnancy brain. Pregnancy brain.